What's up, fellow ecom nerds? It is Andrew back again with another video. I hope everyone is safe and well. In today's video, what I'm going to be covering is how I scaled a Shopify store to over $3.8 million in 2020. Now, I scaled the same store to $1 million in 2019. I also did a video on that a little while ago. So if you want to see this in much more detail, I'd go and check that video out. It's over 30 minutes long. Today's one's not going to be that long. It's going to be more of an overview, but if you really want to get into the weeds, I recommend going to check that one out. In today's one, we're going to kind of cover some things more as an overview, but it'll still be really important to kind of get a better idea of how I did everything. And then after you've watched this one, go and check the other one out so you can kind of dig in and just get a little bit more information. So without further ado, let's kick in. So this is what we're going to cover in today's video. We're going to talk about some launches coming up for the channel. So we're going to have some things on the Patreon and the consultation that I'm going to be opening up next week. There is going to be some information around how to build a bedrock of a strong business, or how to build the foundation of a strong business, because without that, no amount of marketing is really going to make a dent and it's just going to suck and fail. So that's why we're going to talk about why it's so important to have a really good foundation. We are also going to talk about the must-have channels, so the channels that you really need, and there is no excuse for not having them. So we're going to talk about those two, and you can probably guess what they are because I've talked about them a lot in my past videos. We're going to talk about growth channels and how to find them. We're going to talk about the bullseye framework in relation to that as well. Then we're going to talk about doing test channels and always testing new channels. And we're going to use Pinterest as an example for this store, just to show you how we were testing that as well, and some of the results that were pretty good, as a spoiler alert. And a few other things. We're going to talk about average order value, or AOV, and lifetime value for customer as well, because these are really important, because you want people to keep coming back. For every marketing dollar you spend, you want to try and make as much money out of that as possible, and you want to have your customers coming back and keeping them sticking around for as long as possible. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to maybe engineer that sort of behavior as well. And then just to cover everything and to kind of just put it all together, we're going to cover some apps to grow your Shopify store. So this will actually be more related to the AOV side and the LTV side. So let's have a look. So the first bit of exciting news is we will be dropping the official Nerds of E-commerce Patreon account on April the 15th. So if you can, please join our community and support the channel, because it means that I can start to do this more full time, and I would love to jump in and do free courses and free Zoom calls, and all that will be included in the different membership tiers inside Patreon, and I'll be having more information on that as we get close to the launch date. So please keep checking the Nerds of E-commerce community tab inside YouTube for more information, and I'll also be talking about this more in the next video as well. But if you can join our Patreon, I would really appreciate it. The next thing I want to talk about is the early access for the consulting program that we're going to be dropping next week. So if you would like to get some consulting from me, please go down and find the link in the description below, where there's a little form that you can fill out to get some early access to this program. I'm going to have some more prices around the hourly consulting rates and things like that. Go in and check the Nerds of E-commerce community tab again, and also in the next video I'll have some more information, but it's looking to be, I think, around $80 an hour to $150 an hour. So just I'll get back on the official numbers and prices for those as well. But if you are interested in growing your store and you'd like me to jump on and have a look at what you're doing, then please fill in the form and we can have a look at that as well. So really excited to start helping out my community to grow their Shopify stores and their businesses. So would really like to see some people jump on and use the service, and looking forward to talking to you as well. So without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to build a solid foundation for your business, because before we have this, there's no point even talking about marketing, because if you don't have these three things, I find that marketing is really not going to work for you, or isn't really going to help you grow. And the first thing is to have a really awesome product or excellent product. Now, all the companies I've worked with that have been successful, all the way from startups to e-commerce stores, have always had really cool products that people love. Now, if you don't have that, then no amount of marketing is going to save you on that one, unfortunately. So I say that really have a look at the bedrock of your business being your product, and make sure it's something that people want. If you have that, then everything else becomes easier. The other thing I was going to say is customer service. I think that's still really important. And having really great customer service and building a community around your product is also something that I really recommend, especially if you're in a certain niches. It's really good to make sure that you are making sure everyone loves your product, but also that you show that love to your customers and to your community. So a good example of this is probably Zappos, which is a company I always talk about a lot, which was founded by the late great Tony Hsieh. So I would say that there's a really good book called Delivering Happiness, which Tony Hsieh wrote, and I always recommend people go and read that if they want to get really good at customer service and to get some ideas on really how to delight their customers as well. And the third pillar is, some may argue it's part of marketing, but I also say that branding is a little bit separate to marketing in terms of how you're positioning something, how you're positioning your brand, so you're making sure that people can see why they're interested in buying your product or why they might feel they need your product. So I think branding is something we're going to talk a lot about as we go forward in talking about building Shopify stores and businesses. As everyone knows who watches this channel, I'm not a huge fan of dropshipping for dropshipping's sake. And I think that if you want to build a really solid business, you need a brand. You really need a brand, and that means you need to focus on positioning. You need to focus on understanding what is it that your customers love about your business, and that's, I think, more of a message more than anything that you can then use in your marketing. So I think if you have three of these are really important. There's probably some other ones too that I could mention, but I think these are really important to build a really solid bedrock for a great business. Now, what I'm going to mention now is I don't want to hear any excuses. You should be working on these channels from day one, which is your SEO or organic search and email marketing. These are the things that will help you grow your business without having to spend a ton of money. Now, the only thing about these two channels is they take time to build up, but you should be building it up from day one. There should be no excuse to that. As soon as you launch a business, you should be working on your SEO and also your email marketing, because these are the things, or these are the two levers that I always see. If these are done right, then businesses work out. If they're not done, then it's not always game over, but it means that your competition gets more of a chance to have a foothold, and then they become more successful because they don't need to spend money every time they need to make sales because they've been working on their organic traffic. So I would say that SEO and email are there's no excuse not to have these working from day one. Now, as I mentioned, it's going to take a little while to get them kicked off and get them working, but you need to start on day one from these. And if anyone's been watching my other videos, we're going to start doing a whole series on SEO and growing SEO for e-commerce, and especially for Shopify. So just make sure you keep checking those out, because that will definitely help you. And then email marketing, we also got a whole series planned for that as well. And these two play really nicely together. So as I mentioned, no excuses, guys. You got to have these two, or it's just going to be costing you too much money to run your business if you're always paying for ads. So like I said, focus on these and everything else will fall into place. And now we'll talk a little bit about growth channels. So these could be a whole bunch of different things here. You can see here, this is from the Bullseye framework. We're going to talk about this in a little bit from the book Traction. So you want to find the channels that work for you, and this is where we talk about testing and evaluating these different types of channels. So most people will go for paid search or Facebook ads or Pinterest ads or whatever it might be, but there's a whole lot of other ones in here as well, and these may change as your business matures. You may want to switch channels out for each other. The only ones that you'll probably be keeping all of the time is obviously your SEO and email and maybe one paid channel, but all these other ones you may be trying to add in as you get bigger. So you might see something about PR. So once you've got some money, you might want to do some PR around your product. You might want to do affiliate marketing. You might want to do a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's a whole bunch of examples. But what you want to do is kind of narrow this down to 6 potential growth channels that you could use. And then again, after that, narrow that down to 3. I would even say down to 1 to begin with, and to start testing. So this is a really cool little framework just to go in and start looking at all the things that are available to you. And there's probably a few more than what's mentioned here, but then this is a good start, and just find 6 and then 3. I would even say, like I said, 1 to start kicking off and building your growth channels. And this came from the book Traction by Gabriel Weinberg. I want to make sure I pronounce his name right. I did, thank goodness. So this is one of the founders of DuckDuckGo, and I really like that search engine. I'm actually starting to use it a little bit more. Obviously, I still use Google a lot, but I like DuckDuckGo because nothing gets hidden on that platform. You can find everything you want to find. There's no biases on that one, and it has really good privacy. But he was the founder of DuckDuckGo, and he wrote this book, and that's where the Bullseye framework comes from. So I recommend that if you're interested in learning how to test different channels and how to, I guess, select and try different channels in isolation as well, then I recommend checking this book out. It's one of the ones that I've used quite a lot, and I used to teach a lot when I used to teach at colleges. So go and check this one out. I highly recommend it. So a lot of people in marketing talk about funnels, but I think the idea of the flywheel is becoming much more popular as well. It's something that came from Amazon. And the way I look at this marketing flywheel, and like I said, marketing flywheel, not business flywheel, they're a bit different, is I like to break it down to 3 different parts. So there's the viral channel, there's the organic channel, and there's the paid channel. So viral channel could be something like competitions, it could be something like viral launches, referral programs, things like that. Organic channel is more, I would say, something around SEO or email. And then obviously paid channel is everything you can think of that's paid, from paid search like Google ads and Bing ads and Facebook ads, all the way up to like public relations and advertising and all of that good stuff on TV. So this is the flywheel, and kind of this is how I break it down. And these should all be working together. And this is the little channel structure that I have. So you can see here, this is the email marketing list at the top. I still think that email is the #1 channel, and everyone should be building their list from day one. It is no excuse, guys. This is going to be your main revenue driver, and it's going to be the most cost-effective way to get sales. So make sure you work on your email list and nurturing the email list too, not just spamming them, but giving them content, giving them things that they can use in their lives that are related to your product. But just make sure that you're building that list, and everything else will fall into place. Like I said, there's also SEO, which I think is probably the other vital channel outside of email. There are viral channels. So when I talk about viral channels, these could be competitions, these could be viral launches, these could be referral programs. There is testing channels under here, which is, for example, Pinterest ads and YouTube ads, but these could be any channels that you're testing. And then I've got over here your kind of key channels that you're using to prop up your SEO and your email marketing, which is your Google Shopping or Google ads or Facebook ads, or it could be a number of different things here as well. So these are just examples, but I think the 2 things that you need to have no matter what are your email marketing and your SEO, and also some sort of viral channel as well. Okay, now we come to the fun part, how I scaled a store to over $3.8 million as an example. And I'm going to show you where we started from and where we ended up at. We didn't always have Shopify. This started off as a WooCommerce site. And even before that, this was actually just an alcohol store. So if you imagine just a corner shop alcohol store, this is what it was, except they were much more premium and sold premium products. So they did have a little bit of a USP in terms of the products they were selling, but there are a few in the market that are just kind of in the same space. So it just goes to show that if you know what you're doing, you have a really good product, you have good customer service, and you know how to market your business, that these are the results that you can get. It's not out of the reach of the ordinary person to scale up a store to at least $1 million, so I think anyway. And if this, it's just an alcohol store, then I think that if you have a really good product, that you can also reach these heights as well. So let's have a look at where we started from, and then also how we ended up here. So let's go back to where we started in 2018, where we started to work on this account. So I'm just going to quickly flick back, and I've got a little bit of explaining to do. So let's just pick that up there. So end of here. So we actually came in to the business at around October in 2018 and started working on this. And you can see before that, they were making about anywhere between $11 to $16, $22,000 a month. When we came in October, we scaled that up to 33, in November 46, and then in December we went up to 73. So, and if you think, oh well, this is just natural growth, well, if we go back to 2017 to get a better idea of where they were, and we'll quickly flick up here and bang. So this is where they started from, $318,000 a year, which is still really good, I think, anyway, before they got us in to do marketing. But I think this is where we were able to come in and identify some issues and just at least get them to scale and start scaling with doing different tests of email and also competitions at this phase. So we're going to talk about competitions in a little bit, but you can see here 683,000 when we started, and we started about October. And then from here in 2019, so let's just go to 2019 and find January, and then so you can see here we scaled them up to over $1 million, so almost double. And again, this is just around doing different marketing tactics and stuff, and I'll show you a little bit in terms of the channels that we came up with. So email was a really good channel, their organic was a really good channel, and then also Facebook was one of the main drivers, and then that bled on to Google Shopping. So Facebook was almost like the thing that they found first, and then Google Shopping kind of propped them up. And Google Shopping and Facebook have really good synergy with these guys, and you'll probably find that with some of the channels you work on as well, that two channels will actually work really well together, especially in the paid space. And then also maybe like Google Paid and Google Organic also work quite nicely together. So you can see here that's what happened. And then going back to 2020, where we are talking about now as an example, so you can see we scaled them up to over $3.8 million. And this was during COVID as well, and during the pandemic. So this is really cool that we were able to keep them in business, and not only that, make them thrive as well. And I think a lot of e-commerce stories are the same from around this period, where a lot of people were locked inside and couldn't get outside, so they had to order their goods and services. So this did play a little bit of a part in the success, but we were able to sustain this well into 2021 as well. So really good results, really proud of that, 3.8 million. Yeah, and then we'll just talk a little bit about some of the channels as well. So the first one we're going to look at is Google. So you can see here, I've just, for our benefit, put the right dates in. So from January 1st to December 31st, 2020. So we spent $32,000 on Google Ads. We made $710,000 on this platform, with a ROAS, or return on investment, of $22.30. So if you think of this, you're putting $1 in and you're getting $22.30 for every dollar you put in. So this is a really good result. Really proud of this one as well. And you can see that this is mainly Google Shopping that has driven this, and some of the brand campaigns. So I think really good results for Google Ads. And I think that for most e-commerce businesses, if you haven't tried Google Shopping yet, I recommend going and trying that out. It's a little bit tricky to get started, but it's definitely worth the time it takes to set this up. So let's have a look at I think the biggest performing channel for this company, which was Facebook. So with the Facebook ads, we can have a quick look at this as well. So we spent, let me find here, we spent $23,089.81 in between the 1st of January 2020 and 31st of December 2020. And you can see there that we had return on ad spend, so ROAS again, view attribution, this means they've seen an ad and may not have clicked on it at first, of 34.03. So you put $1 in, you get $34.03 back. And then even on the click attribution, which means they've seen the ad, clicked on it straight away and went and bought something, this is 12.03, which is still really good, really high for Facebook. And you can see here that this ROAS is $1, put $1 in, get $12.03 back. So really good. And purchases, we can move on to see how many purchases we had as well. And you can see here that we've had over 3,030 purchases, or 3,030 conversions in this period, and for a total amount. So if we're looking at, again, view attribution, we made $785,743.84 through view attribution, and then $273,000, a little bit over that, for click attribution. So again, really good results, really proud of that. And you can see why we thought Facebook was the main driving channel. And obviously there's email as well for Klaviyo. Klaviyo is a great product, and I recommend using that for email marketing, especially for e-commerce, where we also drove a lot of money through there. And also organic, but these are the two channels that I think I'm really proud of because they're paid and they take a lot of finessing to get the most out of. So you can see here, really good results, and this led on to this result here. So it all kind of bleeds in. And like I said, it's not out of the realms of possibility for anyone to get to these heights. You just have to have everything in place and keep testing and learning to try and refine everything that you're doing. Hey everyone, this is Andrew from the future. I just realized that I forgot to film the Pinterest part of the test. So this is a testing channel that we were trying out, and I think that Pinterest works really well for a female audience. Definitely, I recommend going to check this one out and try it out, both the organic side and the paid side. You can see here that we tried about $300 spend and got about $3,000 back in revenue. So we can see here 12 added to carts, 18 checkouts, and average order value is really healthy too at $167.11. So I think that if it makes sense, if you have a female audience, or if you're in fashion or something like that, or sleepwear, whatever it might be, that I think Pinterest might be a good one to try out. So go and test that one out. Okay, back to the video. So we're going to quickly talk about some virality methods, and the first one is Gleam. So Gleam is really good for competitions, and we talk a lot about this back in the video where I talked about scaling the same store to over $1 million. So if you want to know more about Gleam, go and check that one out after this video. But I think competitions are a great way to kick on and get some good virality, which means you're spending or getting more for your buck. So for every dollar you're spending, you're getting way more out of it because people are sharing things. They're sharing with their friends or referring their friends to enter the competition, which then you get them onto your email marketing list, and then you can send them emails later on and hopefully sell your product. So competitions, really recommended. There's also leaderboards and also referral programs, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. But Gleam's a really good one. For virtual chat, I like Gorgeous because it integrates with Shopify really well, and a lot of other products as well in that whole ecosystem. So I think out of all the chat programs I like for e-commerce, Gorgeous is probably the number one. I really like it. So go and check that one out if you haven't as well. But having a really good virtual chat, I think, is really important nowadays. A lot more people don't really like getting on the phone, so they prefer to speak to someone via text or via chat. So I think Gorgeous is a good one. They can also check and see where their orders are at using bots. So you can set up a lot of bots here and automate the whole customer service process as well. And if you don't want to sit on here and do that yourself, if you don't want to answer customer queries and things on the website, then I would say you can always outsource that to someone in the Philippines or somewhere else, or just hire someone if you have enough money to do that as well. So I think this is a really good one. Go check it out. Another one you want to do is you want to get really good reviews, and there's two that I really like, which is reviews.io and Stamped. I think Stamped is a lot better priced and also integrates a lot better with Shopify and a lot of the other apps within Shopify, and also Klaviyo and a few other things as well. So I think Stamped.io is really cool. Reviews obviously equal trust, so the more people that recommend your product to their friends, or people are more likely to spend money and buy things when other people, like real people, recommend the product rather than advertising. So I think that having people who love your products and review your products and give you 5 stars will definitely help when other people are looking at your products as well, because they'll see all those really good reviews, 5-star reviews, and then they'll want to try the product. The other cool thing about this is you can start to download lists. So you can download a list of all of your 5-star purchases and then put them into like a lookalike audience in Facebook as well. So there's many ways you could skin this as well, and I think reviews are almost imperative nowadays for this sort of like trust value. So I think Stamped is probably one of the best options, and it has one of the cheaper pricing tiers. So again, go and check that one out. Another really important way of making sure that you are getting every dollar out of the customer that you can is by using apps within Shopify. And some of the ones I really like are Reconvert, which is more of an upsell and cross-sell apps. There's also Bought, which is more like the recommendations. So if you've been on Amazon and you're looking at a product, and it'll say that people have bought this product have also bought this product or these products. So that's a really good one. And then Back in Stock. So if you have items that are out of stock, then it gives your customers the chance to, book them in, book something in and say, look, when these come back in stock, I want you to email me. And so they punch in their email address, and when you get your stuff back in stock, then you can then reach back out to them and let them know that everything is back in stock. Another really good thing that I think you should add on all of your stores is a wish list. So people can always add things to their wish list, and then you can use that to also email people a little bit about their products that are in their wish list. So again, trying to personalize that to each customer's preferences as well. So there's a few apps in here, and we're going to cover a lot more of these in upcoming videos where I'm actually going to start building a store, and we're going to talk about how, as we build a store, what apps are good for average order value. And something that's really good as well to start thinking about is your customer lifetime value. So making sure that when someone spends money, it's not just a once-off transaction and you want them to come back. So loyalty programs are really good for that, and this is something where I think Smile.io does a really good job. So again, it's an app that integrates with Shopify really well and all of the other products that I mentioned today. So you can have this all set up and working really well with all your other products. And you can start to set up, like I said, loyalty programs, referral programs. There's also things like referral candy and viral loops as well. But I find this one is probably really well integrated into everything, into the ecosystem. So I recommend checking this out. So that is pretty much it for today's quick video. I don't know if it is a quick video, it's probably going a little bit over what I intended, but as I mentioned, I had a whole video on this where I broke down how we scaled the store to over $1 million, which has a lot of this stuff in here and breaks it down further. But I just wanted to show you how much progress we made since then, and managed to scale this to over $3.8 million using a few other things, like tactics and tips. So I would say go check that video out after this one, because it will just kind of get into the weeds a little bit more, and you'll get a little bit more information out of it. But that's pretty much it for today's video. The next one we have coming out is the second part of the SEO series, where we will be covering content SEO and how to write really good content, how to research really good content for SEO. So we're going to talk about things like Surfer SEO. We're going to talk about how to layer on keyword research on top of that, how to write really compelling content pieces, and then also a little bit about how we could start to get those ranked as well. So make sure you check that one out. It's going to be out this weekend. But apart from that, that is pretty much it for today. And I hope that you can get a little bit out of this where you feel that it's possible for you to be able to scale your store, and it's not out of the realms of possibility, that if you know what you're doing and just a little bit of care, and also making sure that you have that really strong bedrock that we talked about before, really good product, good customer service, and a strong brand, and you're working on those constantly, then everything else is about marketing. And hopefully this kind of covers on how you can at least get started. We're going to do a whole series on building a store, as I mentioned, and also working with some other viewers who are looking to build stores. We're going to work with them and do a series on that as well. So keep an eye out for that one. But that is pretty much it for today's video. As I mentioned, thanks for sticking around. And as I always say, keep loving e-commerce, and I will catch you again in the next video.